Well, for as many changes that have gone on in the Disney parks, especially since 2020, some of the major changes people have noticed, of course, one is that Fast Passes are no longer included in your park ticket, and that is now what was Genie Plus, now Lightning Lane, different types of offerings. But the other one was Magical Express, and this is something that many people loved and really enjoyed about their trip. Was by the time you fly into MCO, you land, you can essentially start your vacation in the airport terminal. But obviously, since then, they have taken Magical Express away. And the fact that they haven't replaced it anything, at least what Disney offering-wise, is a little surprising. We actually have an article, out of all places, from Disney Food Blog that talks about this. So I figured let's read through this article and give some thoughts, because sometimes I'm a little surprised to see some of these, major Disney media outlets being a little critical of Disney. It seems lately they've been more and more, willingness to sort of criticize things, at least on the outside of things here. So I figured let's read through this and give some thoughts on it. So hi, I'm Jared with Capture the Magic. And the title of this article is, "It's frankly absurd that Disney hasn't solved its Orlando airport transportation problem." It says there are quite a few technicalities to work out if you're planning a trip to Disney World. What time of year do you want to visit? Where do you want to stay? Which dining reservations would you like to make? All important questions that can make or break your vacation. But for the past few years, we've had to ask one particular difficult question. How do you want to get from the Orlando International Airport to your Disney resort? Back in 2021, Disney World announced it would be ending its popular Magical Express service. This complimentary shuttle would provide transportation for Disney Resort guests from the Orlando International Airport to their hotel. However, when Disney World canceled this free service, they didn't come up with a replacement. Instead, we've seen several different third-party options pop up in the past few years, from Mears Connect to Sunshine Flyer, and some people have even started using rideshare services like Uber and Lyft instead. But here's the thing. We get that Magical Express may have been costly for Disney World to run, especially right after a pandemic. However, why didn't they ever come up with a paid alternative? It seems like the logical thing to do, still offer the service, just charge hotel guests to use it. These days, there have been a variety of complaints about the third-party options, from the time they take to get to your resort to the difficulty of booking through an outside company. Disney could provide a much more direct and easy option and just make it an add-on, like they did with the transition from FastPass Plus to Lightning Lanes, or what they did with complimentary Magic Bands becoming more expensive Magic Band Plus options. It just seems like their style. It's a common complaint that Disney World seems to be nickel and diming its guests these days, but this seems like an obvious business venture for them. It's surprising that they're leaving the money on the table just to be collected by third-party businesses, and we wonder if they'll ever bring back their own version of this service. So the sentiment I agree with, given Disney's, let's just say, propensity for nickel and diming, one would assume they would just offer this themselves and, upcharge for it. Although I will say, Mears is the company that did this. So that you didn't have actual Disney bus drivers. This was contracted through Mears. I'm sure there were some pricing things on that end, but it still is one of those things where you would assume that Disney would offer this, as I think, a lot of people would do it because it would be a direct thing with Disney, and it would essentially, the thing that used to be free, it could now be paid for. And while a lot of people probably wouldn't like it, they could probably still get a lot of people to do it, because if you don't use Disney's service, you have the third-party options or however you would like to get there, but it would offer some sort of Disney-level service that a lot of people do enjoy when it comes to Disney World. Now, there's probably a lot of logistics involved in it, and I'm not really sure how you would really iron that out, who would do it, but it is surprising they haven't done that. But at the same time, I do think it was a mistake that they got rid of Magical Express, and I'm sure this goes back to some of my complaints with Disney is what I call spreadsheet management, or as I've often referred to it as Moneyball management, which is everything has to be allocated on a spreadsheet as making money. So it was really easy to look at things like fast passes and say, well, those aren't making us money. Let's monetize it where it makes us money. And the same thing with this. Well, this just costs us money, so let's just get rid of it and we don't have to pay for it. And it's fine. We'll be fine either way. But I think what it does is, again, a lot of things I think Disney has lost focus on is how you feel about your trip. And I don't think these are things that are taken into account. But not only that, but how much more money was Disney making by people just basically being on property, not having really, they could obviously get Ubers and Lyfts, they could rent a car if they wanted to, but for the most part, people that use Magical Express probably stayed on Disney property and just ate Disney food, did more shopping, go to Disney Springs. Like, I would love to know if they had any idea, and if they haven't, why wouldn't they try and find that out, in terms of how much more money were people likely to spend when they're using Magical Express, they're in the Disney bubble the whole time. And I think these are things that get lost in the shuffle because they just look at, this costs us whatever it is, $2 million per year. We shave that off the budget. And then we've in fact made money or saved money in that way. But I think a lot of things are very short-sighted in that. And one of them being obviously people spending more money. But when you talk about how you feel about it, it was a nice mental thing about your vacation when you landed at MCO. It was like your trip had already started. You didn't have to really worry about the stress of it. You just show up, show them your Magic Band, you get in line for a bus, and it's like your trip was there. And when it comes to the end of your trip, a lot of people, obviously, they called it the Tragic Express because it was taking you back to the airport to go home. But it was something where they come pick you up at your hotel. You basically just have to make sure that you're there in time. But it was something, it was hassle-free for many people. They could just be much more relaxed about it, almost like an all-inclusive vacation where Disney picked you up and dropped you off from the minute you got off your plane. And I think for a lot of people, that was something that was really enjoyable and something that it's really hard to put a price tag on in terms of people enjoying it and wanting to come back. And I think these are small things, yet again, that Disney has lost in the mix of all this because they're just looking at a straight spreadsheet. And some things you can't allocate to a direct money source. You can't say it makes you X amount of money because it just goes into the feelings of people, the emotions of a vacation, and all these other things. And I think this is just an example of the short-sightedness of this and how years ago, I think this problem, whether it was Mears wanting too much money, which I have heard that before, and I'm sure there's plenty of logistics that go into this that worked against Disney wanting to continue it. But at the same time, I think with enough creativity and people just with a willingness to say we're going to make this work on some level, you could have solved this problem outside the box thinking. But again, I think a lot of it is corporate thinking, which is very, inside a box. We're not going to deviate too much outside the lines. And I think this is how we end up with a lot of things that become the norm, especially when you're looking at Disney the past 5 to 10 years, especially. So I agree with them. In terms of I don't know if absurd is the word I would look for, but I'm surprised that this is something where you can monetize this. I mean, these third-party companies aren't as big as Disney. I mean, I don't really believe that Disney wouldn't be able to come to an agreement with Mears or somebody else to offer a Disney service that, sure, you may charge for it, although I do think they should bring this back because I do think this is something that the Disney fan base would be, very much in favor of. And I understand a lot of people didn't like it and didn't use it necessarily, but I do think a vast amount of people found it a very nice option to have about their trip. But I do think you could make this work with enough creativity and really just enough sheer will to make it work. And I think it would go a long ways with the fan base in saying, hey, we got this service we're bringing back, or hey, we're going to bring this back as a paid option, but make it maybe cheaper or along the same lines as those third-party options. And just personally speaking, we use Magical Express quite a bit. Now that we live in Florida, we live a couple hours from the parks. We haven't used any of these third-party services, so I can't really speak to how they work. I've heard very mixed reviews. And, you can say the same thing about Magical Express, but at the same time, it is a little surprising on this front, and it's something at this point I'm not expecting Disney to either bring back Magical Express unless they end up feeling enough pain and they really feel like they need to do these things, or offering some sort of paid service because they may just not want to mess with it. But again, I do think it's a missed opportunity and a small thing that they may think doesn't make a big difference, but I do think it could be one of those, again, small details that end up being big deals when you add them all up. But we'll have to wait and see if Disney changes any of this. I don't think that they will. But I do agree with this article's sentiment here that it is surprising that Disney hasn't done something on this front ever since they took away the free option. But either way, that's going to be it, though, for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do lots of coverage here of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, are you surprised that Disney got rid of Magical Express and or has not come out with some sort of paid option that would have replaced Magical Express? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.